Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining our show. Joining us today is Kim Kent, who is the co-founder and director of, let me see if I got this right, Extend Homeschool Tutorial.
That is correct.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank
Kim.
you.
I have such
Dimitri.
high regard for what you do.
Aw.
Can I start off with a question?
Sure.
Why is homeschooling so horrible?
You are so funny. Who have you been talking to in the media?
I just watch TV.
Oh, you watch TV?
I learn everything that I learned from
And
TV.
so, you know what's so funny is that one of my roles is I am a homeschool mythbuster. And so, yeah.
I didn't know there was a position for that.
There is a position for that because there are so many misconceptions about homeschooling that are out there in the media. And what I love is that what we do at Extend is we get to shatter all of those myths. Like there's so many. You talk about socialization. Oh, is my kid going to be able to graduate if they're homeschooled? Are they going to be able to get into college? And we're doing all of those things and more. Is my kid going to be socialized? We're not even going to say anything about that, are we? Okay. Anyway,
yes, keep going.
Is my kid going to be socialized?
That was the judges saying that you got the correct answer.
But yeah, and so what I love is that at Extend, we get to really obliterate all of those myths that are out there because we are proving that when you're homeschooled, you can be more than socialized. You are adequately prepared to handle yourself out in public. And, you know, our kids graduate and go to the colleges of their dreams with money, which is amazing. Really isn't amazing because that's what homeschoolers do.
I just don't believe that.
I know you don't believe.
I'm not saying you're lying. I've just been so used to lack of motion and freedom and
well,
progress.
Here's the thing. I have 6 kids. And I've homeschooled all of them all the way through so far. I've got 2 that are still in the pipeline. One is a high school senior, so he's getting ready to graduate. But he and all my other kids, he'll be graduating in June. All of my kids have homeschooled all the way, and they've graduated.
You made them. They said, "Mom, we want to go to public school."
No, you know what? Only one of them did. Only one of my kids was like, "I think I want to go to public school," and I was like, "Yeah, I don't think you want to do that." And then, all of, you watch
siblings. What do siblings say?
Yeah, you watch your peers and they're like, I don't think you want that because unless you really like to be bullied, unless, you don't want to learn how to read and you don't want to be successful, especially in sadly, in some of the schools that we've seen, they leave, there are some concerns. How about we say that to be very kind?
Concerns.
There are some concerns, yeah.
I won't make any fantastical references to sitting in class next to a member of Trinidad Agua.
Okay, no, but listen,
I won't do that.
But here's what I will say.
Because that's hyperbole.
Yeah, but let me tell you what I will say
ahead.
is that I did recently, actually last year I had a conversation with a gentleman who was involved in admissions for a local university and was also an instructor there. And one of the things that he was saying was that he was heartbroken. It was heartbreaking for him to see how many seniors, high school seniors, were coming into their program and they were unable to form a complete sentence. Their writing was atrocious, to use his words, and that they just couldn't communicate. They didn't have basic writing skills. Math was problematic. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of that, but not at Extend. Because what we do is that we prepare our kids to be very successful in the college setting. I mean, so much so that in our program, usually no later than your senior year of high school, you are dual enrolling at the local community college, and they're doing really well because we equip them for success.
Okay.
So that's why you can say what you've heard out there, okay, but I'm telling you from personal experience what we do at Extend, that doesn't have to be that way. Okay,
but see, me on the outside.
Yeah.
I've been hearing for some time now that the U.S. used to be the leader in amongst the most educated, the most successful school system in the world. Now it's like number 29.
Yeah.
So before I go down that road, what I can't wrap my head around, not completely, I did hear that we're going to compare students from yesteryear. We'll say, let's go back to the early part of the 20th century, like 1910, 1906, something like that, and compare them to today. What I had heard is that a student who's graduating college, I guess in the last 10 years, has an equivalent education level of an 8th grader in 1906. which means those kids were learning something. And now you're telling me they're going to school, they can't read, they can't write. So then, what else can you tell us about the disparity between then and now? What changed?
Well, I think one of the things that changed was an emphasis on the basics of reading and writing and arithmetic.
Why would you go to school for anything else?
That's a great question. Why would you go to school for anything else? But that's what we're seeing, and we're seeing what I believe sometimes is a dumbing down in education.
Yeah?
You definitely see that, because that's the only thing that explains why you have kids that are graduating and they're not proficient.
Well, even going back to my fandom, Dexter Manley was a very successful defensive lineman in the NFL. He played for the Washington Redskins. He made it all the way through college and hid the fact, as a professional football player, he hid the fact that he could not read.
Yeah.
And that's an example.
Right, and I will tell you here, and here's where when I look at that, what I see is that what was valued was his talent over his ability to function well in society, and I think that's a problem.
Well, now we have people that are coming out that can't function in society.
Right, that's a problem.
And they don't have any talent. That's been cultivated.
Okay.
I'm saying everybody has talent.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting in a room spending 6-7 hours a day not processing new information and getting your dendrites and your neurons to start working, you're vegging. And then you have your phone.
Well, we're not going to.
What is it about homeschooling that would get me? Put me in a homeschooling scenario.
Okay.
Before we go there, when did homeschooling become a reality?
You know, homeschooling has always been around. I mean, I think there's this idea that homeschooling is like this new thing. Homeschooling has always been around. Our founding fathers were homeschooled. Oh my goodness, are you kidding? Homeschooling has always been around. People used to educate in the home. You know, the little one-room schoolhouse from way, way, way back when.
Yeah.
So that always used to be the case.
But when did they go to university? You know, Yale and Harvard.
Yale and Harvard, but if you look at Yale and Harvard, they were actually established by the church.
Yes, they were. I'm aware of that.
Were there.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah, they kind of strayed from that a little bit.
And Dartmouth and Princeton.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, he's gone to Harvard, right? So everybody's like all happy about that. So how did they go from homeschooling to university?
Oh, how do we do it now?
How did they do it then?
Oh, how did they do it then? Well, I think you're talking about a time way, way, way back when you had the skills, and that was almost like a natural progression. Of course, you were going to learn at home, you were going to get the fundamental skills, and then the next step after that was that you were going to go to a university, you were going to go to a college, if you could afford it. But that was the natural progression.
So now homeschooling today, compared to that homeschooling, you know, you said George Washington was homeschooled.
Yeah.
Who else was all the founding fathers?
We have so many. Yeah, you were talking about founding. Okay.
But today, so it's sort of faded. Oh, wait a minute. Wait.
Yeah, you want me to give you some
faded during the industrialization of America.
Right, because they were producing factory workers.
Thank you.
Right, so you're producing factory workers. So you want to have this standardized one-size-fits-all situation that happens, and you know, I gotta say that maybe that worked back then. It's not working anymore. I mean, I don't believe that was ever really the most, in my opinion, the most effective way, because the reality is that our kids are not one size fits all. We don't have one size fits all people, you know? And so when we have an institution that is basically a box and very rigid and can't accommodate, you know, your creatives or people who think outside of the box, you know, your entrepreneurs. And, you know, I'll give you an example. I'm going to talk about my oldest son. When he was little and we first started homeschooling, I remember being on the living room floor, and I'm trying to do this, you know, we were using Mystery of History, and I was trying to teach him about, you know, the history and like the early ancients, and he's busy flitting around like most little kids do.
How old is he?
He was probably 5, I want to say at the time, 5 or 6 years old. And, you know, I'm trying to teach, and his sister's there, and his sister's, you know, steadily learning, and he's kind of all over the place. And then I'm getting frustrated with him, and finally I just put everything down and said, Joshua, what did I just say? And he rattled off every bit of information that I was talking about. And what that showed me in that moment, I realized that my child was a kinesthetic learner. He took in information by being in motion. Now, there's a problem with that if I'm going to put him in this one-size-fits-all classroom.
So how many kids need to be in motion?
How many kids? I don't know. How many kids are there? I don't know.
I guess.
I mean, honestly, but that's the thing. Every child is different. Some kids can.
So who makes the call?
You know, the parents do.
The parents?
Shouldn't the parents?
They haven't been educated.
Oh.
They don't even know how to have a baby.
Oh, you're so funny.
They have to go get a piece of paper from somebody.
You're so funny.
Go ahead.
Oh, you kill me. You
I'm
kill me.
not
You
that
crack
funny.
me up. You crack me up. But think about it. As a parent, I'm the one. I'm spending those formative years with my child. I'm seeing my child. I'm the one who knows that my kid is like very active. But that doesn't mean necessarily that he needs to be on Ritalin, that he needs to get, I'm not downing that. I'm not saying that that's not a thing, but I'm saying for him, he was a kinesthetic learner. And unfortunately, in a traditional setting, he most likely would have been given the label as ADHD. He most likely would have been given some recommendation, oh, he needs to go on medicine, when that's not what was happening with him.
Wow.
What was happening with him was he was a boy, right, with a whole lot of testosterone, but who also learned by being active. That's what he needed. And there are kids out there, and if you're listening, you might have one of these kids who needs to be in motion, and maybe they need to be outdoors. Maybe when they're outdoors is where they're going to get most of their learning, and that's what's going to work for them. But that, again, needs to be something that the parents get to decide. You know, we talk about homeschooling now.
Well, so who's a
name.
successful homeschooled person that you can tell me about today?
Oh, you have so many. You know, Simone Biles, Misty Copeland. I'm just giving you some, the Williams sisters. You know, you look at and think about it. They're athletes who had to be on the court, you know, however many hours a day. They weren't sitting in a schoolhouse. That wasn't going to work for them because really, let's talk about their raw talent, right? And so guess what? They needed to be homeschooled. They needed to learn outside of the box. Why? Because it freed them up to hone their craft. And that you can look at many celebrities are doing it these days. You know, really, you think about it. If you're on a set, you're not sitting in a schoolhouse, right? And I'm not saying that, you know, everybody needs to be a celebrity kid or whatever, but I'm saying, but that's what happens. Albert Einstein, he was homeschooled. But again, I'm going back, you know.
When people were smart?
When people were
All right, so put me in a homeschooling scenario,
Yeah.
okay? So,
can I push you in extend? Can I push you in extend?
you
What I love?
put me anywhere you want to.
Okay.
How do you keep me off my phone? I find that you know what's happening now?
Okay.
I knew better. And I used to hear about people that they spend hours on Facebook. Do you know what Facebook does now? They put relevant data that interests me, and I just start scrolling.
And you stay.
And I realize,
hooked.
oh my God, I just frittered
Spend
away
5
a half hour.
hours scrolling around on something that you're interested in. Okay.
They got to me.
Right. So what I'm going to say is, why can't we do the same thing educationally? Why can't? And this is what happens in homeschooling. This is what I love. Why I love homeschooling. I'm going to call it now parent-led education, is because I can find out what interests you, and I can let you just go for it. For example, I'm going to talk about my son. I'm talking about my other son, Josh.
I don't see myself sitting in your class yet.
You don't?
No, you have to put me in the class.
Yeah, tell me.
How's my day?
What are you interested in? So my first thing is I'm going to find out what are you interested in. Because here's the thing.
Why would you do that?
No. You are so funny.
Go ahead.
If I'm going to engage you, Dimitri.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out what makes you tick. I'm going to find out what you love. And then I, as your parent, if I'm going to be Dimitri's mama, let me be Dimitri's mama for a minute.
It's a tough job.
It's a tough job. But I'm going to say, if I'm going to be Dimitri's mom and I want to craft an education around Dimitri, I'm going to find out what you love. Tell me what you love.
Right now, I love sleep. It's just really important to me.
You are so funny. Okay, so we could talk about sleep. Okay. So we could talk about
health
sleep
and
from
hygiene.
science, health and hygiene. We could talk about things like narcolepsy and why does that happen? Why is it that all of a sudden I can be talking to you and suddenly you're asleep? There's this thing called narcolepsy. Well, what is that? That's going to we're going to then all of a sudden get into a study about the brain and the human body. We're going to we might be talking about the science of sleep and how much sleep does the body actually need. You know, we can start talking about that. We can talk about what are the disruptors to sleep. What are the things that keep you from getting that sleep that you really need? Do you realize that I could build a whole curriculum around the fact that you love sleep?
So now that I
As an educator?
now that I love sleep, actually I don't love sleep. I just want to be able to be recharged when I go to the gym.
I think we all do.
So
Yeah.
it's hygiene, okay?
Right,
Health
okay.
hygiene.
So that's one: health, hygiene, science.
Science.
Math, statistics. When we talk about statistics, how much sleep do most people get? And then what is that? How is that relevant to like their productivity during the day? I mean, you literally, when I tell you this is the beauty of homeschooling or parent-led education, is because I can find out what you love, right? And then I can build an education that's centered around the things that you love. I can teach you about how to write. I can teach you about I can have you write me a 3-point essay, 3-paragraph essay on sleep. I can have you write a 3-point expository essay on why you love sleep. You're going to give me the 3 top reasons why you love sleep, and you're going to give me a thesis sentence that tells me why you love sleep and name your 3 points. Then you're going to have your second paragraph. It's going to restate that, and then it's going to give me each reason with a supporting sentence why. And then I'm going to teach you how to do it creatively. I'm going to teach you how to vary your sentence openers. I'm going to teach you things about sentence structure and how to have an ly opener and an ing opener. I know you don't know what I'm talking about, and that's okay. But you know what? You know what I'm going to tell you something?
What?
I'm going to tell you that my 4th graders know what that means. We have 4th and 5th and 6th graders that are outwriting most high schoolers. Why?
Why?
Because we focus on the fundamental things like how to write. We focus on grammar and we focus on composition, and we teach them these things. These are necessary life skills if they're going to be productive in society.
Okay, well, I want to know is where do you use the comma and the colon and then the semicolon? Because I can never get that right.
Well, it depends. For a comma, right, if you're having a list, steak, potatoes, eggs, comma, and
You got my
greens,
attention.
right?
Yes.
Okay. If it's a semicolon,
Yeah.
I like steak and potatoes, semicolon. However, with a transitional word. Okay. Oh, you're so funny. So yeah.
And then colon?
And colon, if I'm going to say, I have a couple of things I like to give you some examples of foods that I like. Colon, steak, potato.
And you're using commas.
And I'm using
commas after the colon.
That's right, I'm using commas and colons. And so let me just share with you, we use a program, it's fabulous, it's called Shirley Grammar. And it teaches kids from a very little, 1st grade, all the rules of grammar, all the parts of speech, how to classify sentences.
Is it fun or is it boring?
It is so fun because we use songs.
What kind of songs?
Oh, we use jingles. Oh, all right. This little noun floating around names a person, place, or thing with a knick-knack, paddywhack. These are English rules. Isn't language fun and cool? That's a noun. That's for the little kids. These are for our 1st graders.
I'm right there. I like
These
to
are for our
attend that
1st
class.
graders, right? But that's 1st grade. So anyway.
Okay, so now you've got me learning. Now, the next question I have. So we're now studying sleep patterns, hygiene and science and all that. Where can I get accurate, untainted, unbiased resources that isn't owned by some big some big
commercial outfit? So what I would always recommend,
big special interest.
Yes, special interest. What I will always recommend, there's a great website called Kathy Duffy Reviews, CATHY Duffy DUFFY Reviews. And what she's done, she's been doing this for years, but what she's done is she's taken all of this curriculum, you can just search by the subject matter, and then she takes every curriculum, gives you the pros and cons for it, and then you as a parent, let's say that you're a parent now, right, can go and look up, hey, I think I want to look at Saxon Math. Is that going to be good for my student? Well, she'll give you the pros and cons for Saxon Math. Or maybe do I want to use Horizons, the pros and cons for that.
Okay, hold on.
And so you're able to...
You said what? Saxon Math?
Saxon, Saxon. So that's I use Saxon.
Do you have to wear like chainmail when you're...
Although I will say, let me just say what I love about them. The vocabulary in their workbook, not in their workbook, in their textbooks are hilarious. So there was one we were doing ratio questions, and the kids were and it was talking about cows, and it had Holsteins, and the kids were like, "What's a Holstein?" And I was like, "Hey, actually, a Holstein is a type of cow. It's actually a milk cow. It's the cow that's got the black and white, spots on it." Anyway, but you learn so much. I love that curriculum. Some people you have pros and cons with every curriculum is going to have its pros and cons. But what Kathy Duffy does, which I really love, is that she lays it all out, totally unbiased. And what parents are able to do is to go and look at a curriculum and see if it's going to work for them.
You said Saxon what?
Math.
What is what? I don't know what that is.
It's just a math program. It's a really good math program. It's a spiraling. It's a fabulous
So does this
incremental.
does
math
this take
program.
into
I
account
love
the
it.
studying of the Nautilus and the fact that the Nautilus is based on Fibonacci math?
That would be advanced math, and that's beyond my pay grade. So, but I'm sure.
Is that beyond your pay grade?
Yeah.
'Cause there's-
So yeah, listen.
there's a lot of stock
I'm
analysts.
elementary, middle, and I go to algebra 1, and after that, I pass that on to the great instructors in our program.
There's a lot of stock analysts out there that
Yeah.
are always giving you the Fibonacci on
Okay.
the movement of a price
Yeah.
over
Okay.
7 days and 33 months. And,
Okay.
and then the end of the day, if you're not in on the inside, like some people are on Capitol Hill, you just end up losing money and they take it from you.
Ouch.
I jest. I kid because I love. So now, give me a results. Give me a testimony of one of your students, because we've heard about.
I know. I can give you like a whole class.
You said Misty who?
Copeland.
Misty
Yeah,
Copeland.
but I can give you a whole class.
Simone Biles.
Wait. Can I tell you about one of my kids? Listen, because I just love
Give us
talking
some
about
more
my
famous
children.
names. Give us more.
So Thomas Edison,
Thomas
Agatha
Edison.
Christie, Venus and Serena Williams, Teddy Roosevelt, the Jonas Brothers,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Albert Einstein, Simone Biles, like I said, Tim Tebow. Everybody knows about Tim Tebow, like huge,
I didn't know
famous-
he was homeschooled.
Yeah, he was homeschooled.
Okay.
Yeah. Ryan Gosling was homeschooled.
Wow. He's
Sorry to mention you.
Talented man.
Don't come sue me. Don't come after me.
Talented man.
Bethany Hamilton. So you have so many
I don't know who
people.
Bethany Hamilton is.
Soul Surfer. Are you kidding?
Oh.
Yes. You know, she's going to be at the HEAV.
That doesn't mean
homeschool-
anything
okay.
to me.
Home Educators Association of Virginia.
Bethany what now?
Hamilton.
Bethany Hamilton.
Yeah.
She lost a leg to a shark?
The arm.
She lost
to the
an
shark.
arm?
Yeah, and just kept on, and she is like, yeah, she's on fire.
You know,
That girl.
there is a, I forgot her name. Oh, her first name is Ocean.
Okay.
She's out there
listen,
she's
listen.
trying to educate people not to kill sharks.
Okay. See, that's not my world necessarily.
But if I was
But if you were interested in it,
in sharks,
oh, we would do a whole curriculum about sharks. We would talk about, I mean, of course, you'd have the whole science thing covered.
Yeah.
And then from English, you'd be doing reports on sharks. You could even, if you wanted to do like a whole cinematography thing, you can like create a film.
or
about
dissect
sharks.
the
You could dissect
battle
them.
scene
Yeah, you're
between
gonna
James
dissect-
Bond and his underwater
You're so
team against, what was that, Spectre's underwater team? And you gotta, you gotta watch Bond.
Okay. But what I'm saying is that
This
you
is not
can
ADHD.
find
This
your
is not
passion.
ADHD, is
Yeah,
it?
no, I don't know. I don't know what it is. You know what it is? It's Dimitri.
It could be.
It's Dimitri.
That just could.
It's Dimitri.
That's it.
It's Dimitri.
So tell me about one of your
Yeah.
success stories.
Okay, can I talk about my kids?
Your kids.
I know. I want to talk about my kids. Okay, let me just give you one
So
example.
biased.
I know.
Because you
it's
had
totally
them.
biased because I had them. But you know what? Honestly, even if I went outside of my kids, like last year we had the largest graduating class of high schools. We had 24 high school seniors. Of them, all but 3 went to the colleges of their dreams with money. Like, listen, the college didn't choose them; they chose the college.
And then what happened?
Which was amazing. And then they went off. Now, let me just tell you
What
about
do you
the
mean
other
with
ones.
money? How'd the money get there?
They got scholarships.
From the schools?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Wasn't
funny.
I'm not being funny.
No, I
'cause
know,
it's
but no,
the
but
government
scholarships-
Pell Grant
no,
and you know.
they got scholarships. Oh my goodness, we have some kids that like had full rides, and so. But let me just tell you, of the ones that didn't, we had one. I just want to share her story.
Okay, wait,
because she's
stop,
amazing.
stop. They got educated.
They got educated.
Just
Every
a
single
minute.
one of them got educated.
Just a minute.
Every one of them, and just about all of them were dual enrolled by the time they were done. Because again, our program is designed for our
Oh
kids
yeah,
to
that's
dual
right.
enroll.
That's right.
Yes, no later
So
than your
they're
senior
in
year.
college and still
They're in college and
transitioning.
still in high school, right? They're in college, but they're also still in high school. They're getting they're getting high school credits while taking college courses, proving that they can handle the rigor of college. Now, I will say this. I just want to throw one little thing in there. One of the things I love about our program, and yeah, I know I'm talking about Extend just because, it's my heart. But one of the things I love about what we do is that we are specifically designed so that kids get the college experience early on. You think about it. If you're in a regular traditional school, right? You go on 5 days a week, Monday through Friday from, dark 30 in the morning till the afternoon, right? And when you graduate, you go to college. And probably for the first time ever, you've got it right. For the first time ever, if you're in the model, right, in the traditional model, you're having classes only 2 days a week. Like you got that Monday, Wednesday class or that Tuesday, Thursday class, and you're for the first time probably having to figure out, what am I going to do with my time? How am I going to regulate? And this is why a lot of kids struggle, because they're like, all of a sudden there's this freedom. Oh my goodness, I don't have to go to class like for 2 hours a week. Oh my goodness, right?
Student union.
Okay, all right. But what I will say, and this is what I love, our program is a twice-a-week program. Our classes from day one, for, elementary, middle, and high school, they're already meeting only 2 days a week. So they're already learning those skills of how to manage their time. They're already learning how to talk to a professor, because they'll talk to us, Mrs. Kent, is there a reason why I got this? Yeah, there is a reason, babe, why you got that on your test. But they're learning how to do this.
So
They're
then what
learning these
happened?
skills.
What happened? Okay, so
Anyway,
when
so
I
let
went
me
to
just tell
college,
you-
the first week,
Yeah.
I ended up in Chem 101.
Okay.
And I didn't know anything about college.
Right.
My sister went to school.
Right.
I would go with her at nights. Well, she had a night class, and I had our big white German Shepherd with us to make her feel safe.
Okay.
But when I got there, I walked into my chem class,
Yeah.
and he gave us an assignment, and I don't know what came over me, but I believed that I needed to get that assignment done that night, and I had a whole week to do it.
Right.
So the next day I had it done.
Yeah.
Next day.
And he probably looked at you and said, "Oh, you are such a
No, he didn't see me till next week. But the problem was this: I didn't do it ever again.
Yeah.
After that, it was
You were done."
I got time. It was
Right.
going to Hornbeck Library and maybe
Yeah.
thinking that if I take some uppers, it can help me stay up the whole night and
Oh
catch
my
up.
goodness, not the answer.
I
Not the answer.
didn't really pick up on how to optimize that college experience.
But understand that because ours is a twice a week program, like Tuesdays and Thursdays, the kids are learning how to do that already. They're learning that in elementary,
That's
middle, and high
huge.
school. It is huge.
Do they do that in conventional schooling right now?
I don't know. 5 days a week? I don't think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know.
And
I don't know.
The other
I've
thing with
not
me,
seen that.
no one taught me how to study.
Yeah, well, you know what? You
No
kind
one
of got
taught me how. I went
You gotta
all the way
learn.
through 12 grades. I went all the way through college.
Yeah.
And then I decided to go to grad school.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, you know what? I'm going to get serious.
Well, you know what? Again, like I said, I don't know what's happening out there. I know it extends.
Okay.
We teach things like you learn how to take notes. Okay, in my math, my kids, you ask any of the kids that have taken math with Mrs. Ken, they learn how to take notes.
Oh, yeah?
They learn the importance of not only taking those notes, but then that same
So
day
you're saying-
going in reviewing those notes, and that is a skill that will carry them throughout their life.
So this isn't you specifically.
Right.
This is the model
This is the model.
that Extend
This is
offers.
the model that we offer.
So give me a good feel good story.
A feel good.
Sure.
A really feel. Okay, so let me tell you about one of our other graduates from last year. Okay, who did not go to a 2 to 4 year college. Instead, she loved horses. She loves horses. And so what she did is that she arranged that when she graduated, she was going to go to a trade school out in the Midwest to become a farrier. I had no idea what a farrier was. I was like, "Oh, what?" Evidently, it's a horse podiatrist.
Wow,
That's a big
that
deal.
sounds familiar.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness,
no.
it's a horse podiatrist, right?
Racetracks.
And so racetracks, all those things. And listen, and they're in short supply. So you know that girl is gonna be doing, she is set. She's gonna do, I think it's 2 years there. She's got 1 more year. When she comes back, she's already got her internship set up. She is gonna be set for life. Guess what? That happened because she had the flexibility of homeschooling. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Let me share you another little success story I'm going to talk about one of my own kids, Sarah. I love my baby girl.